Hello sports fans, it is Monday, March the 16th, the year 2015, and as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. Hope you guys had a terrific weekend as we are ready for March Madness. The brackets are out. I went through them last night. I made all my picks. I'm ready to go. Very excited about this year's tournament. Now, I'm not going to pick these 4 play-in games. I'm not a big play-in guy lover. I think the tournament starts on Thursday. I don't really get into these play-in games. There's 4 of them. You have Manhattan against Hampton, Mississippi against BYU, North Florida against Robert Moses, and Boise State against Dayton. Of course, Dayton will have a home game for that. I don't get into those games. To me, the tournament starts on Thursday. All right, without further ado, let's go through these brackets. Let's start in the Midwest. That's where the number 1 overall seed Kentucky is. Of course, Kentucky undefeated. They ran through the SEC tournament. They had no competition there. Rolled over Florida, bombed Auburn, had no problem with Arkansas. I thought they may have, a couple issues if they ran into Georgia or LSU, but they didn't even end up playing them. Kentucky looks absolutely awesome right now. Let's see how they handle the pressure of being undefeated. All right, so let's go to the Midwest bracket. The first sets of games are in Louisville. You have number 1 seed Kentucky against the number 16 seed, the play-in game, Manhattan-Hampton. Listen, we know Kentucky is going to win there. They're going to win 100-50 in front of all their fans in Louisville. That will be a practice game. Let's put Kentucky in the win column. The second game from Louisville is the 8-9 matchup between Cincinnati and Purdue. Very, very tough game. Could go either way. Of course, Cincinnati without their coach. He's recovering from an illness. He will not coach in this tournament. I'm going to go with Purdue here. I saw Purdue a couple times at the end of the year. I was a little impressed with Purdue. So I'm going to say Purdue wins a tight game. Very, very nice matchup. I think Purdue squeaks it out. Let's go to the second group of games in Columbus, Ohio. You have the 5-12 matchup, West Virginia against Buffalo. And every year, that 5-12 matchup is very, very dangerous. There's always upsets coming from those seedings. And I'm going to pick one right off the bat here. I'm going to say Buffalo upsets West Virginia. I like this Buffalo team. They're coached by Bobby Hurley, the ex-guard from Duke. They have a really, really nice team. And this is not a vintage West Virginia team. This is not a great West Virginia team. I love Bob Huggins as a coach. I don't think he's ever lost a first-round game. He goes down here. I think Buffalo upsets West Virginia in the 5-12 game. And in the other game from Columbus, you have the 4-13 matchup, Maryland against Valparaiso. I like Maryland. Maryland, to me, has been the surprise, of college basketball the whole year. They were a little disappointing in the Big Ten tournament. They lost to Michigan State. But I like Maryland overall. I think they do a really nice job. They've had a tremendous season. So I'm going to go with Maryland to beat Valparaiso. The bottom half of the Midwest bracket, first sets of games in Pittsburgh. The 6-11 matchup, Butler against Texas. I'm going to go with Texas. Now, I know Texas is flaky, and they were a bubble team. But I think if Texas brings their best game, I think Texas is better than Butler. I think they have better players. If both teams bring their A game, I think Texas is better. Always risky taking Texas, but I just think they have more talent. I'm going to say Texas beats Butler. The other game from Pittsburgh, you have the 3-14 matchup, Notre Dame against Northeastern. How about Notre Dame in the ACC tournament? They looked absolutely awesome in that tournament. What a job by Notre Dame. I mean, they really played well. They knocked off North Carolina to win the title. Notre Dame, great passing team, was hitting the 3. Notre Dame has been impressive all year. I have been really impressed with Notre Dame. Notre Dame has no problem with Northeastern. And the bottom half of that, from Omaha, you have the 7-10 matchup, Wichita State against Indiana. Indiana squeaks into the tournament. I like Wichita State here. I've been a big fan of the Shockers all year. I don't love this Indiana team. They were a bubble team all year. I think Wichita State gets through. And then the 2-15 matchup, you have Kansas against New Mexico State. We'll see if the Kansas big man is able to play. I mean, he's been, suspended. The NCAA is, supposed to look into that to see if he's academically ineligible or something like that. When are they going to get to that? The tournament starts, this week. When are they going to get around to that? Well, so we'll see if the Kansas big man plays. Right now, he's out. He missed the whole Big 12 tournament, but Kansas should beat New Mexico State, so I have Kansas advancing there. All right, let's go down to the West bracket first round. These first sets of games are in Omaha. The 1-16 matchup, you have Wisconsin against Coastal Carolina. Wisconsin, of course, had the big comeback in the Big Ten title game against Michigan State. Nice job by Wisconsin coming back. Wisconsin will beat Coastal Carolina. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So I have Wisconsin winning there. Second game in Omaha, you have Oregon and Oklahoma State. That's the 8-9 matchup. Being the game is in Omaha, I think it's going to be an Oklahoma State crowd. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State there. It's a very close game, though, toss-up game. I'm going to go with Oak State there. And then the other games in that half of the bracket are in Jacksonville. You have the 5-12 matchup. Here's another one of those 5-12 games. Arkansas against Wofford. I can't pick Wofford here. I know a lot of people did. I have enough respect for Anderson as the coach of Arkansas. I think Arkansas gets through here. And the other game in Jacksonville, you have the 4-13 matchup, North Carolina against Harvard. North Carolina, of course, lost to Notre Dame in the ACC title game. North Carolina can play with anyone. They could also lose to anyone. They will not lose to Harvard. Harvard did a nice job getting into the tournament, won the Ivy League title, beating Yale in the playoff game. But UNC, too much for Harvard here. I like UNC to advance. Then the bottom half of the West bracket, these couple of games are in Jacksonville. You have the 6-11 matchup. You have Xavier against the winner of BYU Ole Miss. Listen, I can't take, one of these play-in game winners. I know a lot of these teams have advanced pretty far, but I can't take them here. I'm going to go with Xavier. Xavier's a gritty team. It's not one of their better teams this year, but I think they have enough to get through here. I'll take Xavier there. Then the other game from Jacksonville, you have the third seed Baylor against the 14 seed Georgia State. Of course, the Georgia State coach yesterday after they won their tournament and got a bid to the dance tore his Achilles because he was celebrating. How many times have we seen that with guys in baseball or basketball jumping around, celebrating, and end up hurting themselves? So you have the 3-14 game there. You have to go with Baylor. Baylor's a good team, solid conference, the Big 12. Baylor will get through. The bottom half of that bracket in the West, these games are in Portland, the 7-10 matchup. Virginia Commonwealth, who won the A-10 title, give them all sorts of credit, playing without one of their better players, against Ohio State, the 10 seed. This is a very, very interesting matchup. Ohio State has been disappointing all year, but I just have a feeling Ohio State is going to win this game. Virginia Commonwealth, off the big high win in the A-10 tournament, they are still playing without one of their best players. I think that's going to come back to bite them here. I like Ohio State here, and I know nobody else does. I think Ohio State is going to win this game, so I'll pick the upset there. Ohio State beats VCU. And then on the bottom there from Portland, you have the 2-15 matchup, Arizona against Texas Southern. Arizona looks really, really solid. Ran through the Pac-12 to win the title. I love Arizona's team. Arizona will get through there. So that is the first round in the West. Up to the East we go. These couple of games will be from Pittsburgh. You have the number 1 seed Villanova, who had just a tremendous year, won the Big East tournament. Villanova, unbelievable. Has only lost 2 games all year. Doing a great job. Balanced scoring, great coach. What a nice team Villanova has. They will play the number 16 seed Lafayette. Villanova will get through there. Then the other game in Pittsburgh, you have the 8-9 matchup, NC State against LSU. Very interesting game. NC State is flaky, so is LSU. I'm going to take NC State here because I like the ACC better than the SEC, and LSU is a little banged up, so I'm going to take NC State there. As far as the next group of games in Seattle, you have the 5-12 matchup. Here we go again with the 5-12 matchup. Northern Iowa against Wyoming. Very, very dangerous game for Northern Iowa, who had a tremendous season. Remember, Wyoming won their conference tournament and stole a bid. This is a very dangerous game. I'm not going to pick the upset here. I think Northern Iowa is just a little better than Wyoming, but this is a very dangerous game for Northern Iowa, playing against a hot Wyoming team out in Seattle. Keep an eye on that game, but I'll take Northern Iowa to squeak through. The other game in Seattle, you have the 4-13 matchup, Louisville against UC Irvine. Listen, Louisville can play defense, but they're not great on offense. They tossed one of their better players off the team. I don't think it's a great Louisville team, but I think they have enough to beat UC Irvine. Down to the bottom half of the Eastern bracket, the first round. These sets of games are in Columbus. You have the number 6 seed Providence Friars against the number 11 seed. This is another playing game, Boise State against Dayton. I don't love picking these playing games or these playing game winners to go far, even though they have in the past, so I will take Providence there to advance. The other game in Columbus, you have the 3-14 matchup. Oklahoma, a solid team out of the Big 12, against Albany, who won their conference tournament with a buzzer beater against Stony Brook. So nice job by Albany making the tournament. They are the 14 seed. You got to go with Oklahoma here. I mean, come on, that's a no-brainer. Albany's had a nice year, but they're not in a league with Oklahoma. And the bottom of that Eastern bracket, you have the games from Charlotte. You have the 7-10 matchup, Michigan State against Georgia. Michigan State looks like they are improving a lot. Their big men are improving. They totally blew that game yesterday to Wisconsin, but you know Tom Izzo can coach. Michigan State is a dangerous team. They will beat Georgia. They're tougher than Georgia. Michigan State advances. And the bottom there from Charlotte, you have the number 2 seed Virginia against the number 15 seed Belmont. Let's keep an eye on Anderson for UVA. With Anderson healthy and playing well, UVA is a Final Four team. He looked a little rusty in the ACC tournament. Maybe he starts to pick his game up. But with him healthy, they're a Final Four team. If he's not on top of his game, they could be bounced. I mean, they play great defense, but they sometimes have trouble scoring. Keep an eye on Anderson. We'll see how he plays. But Virginia, way too much for Belmont. So that is the first round in the East. Let's go down to the South bracket. These couple of games will be in Charlotte. You have the number 1 seed Duke against the number 16 seed North Florida and Robert Moses. No-brainer here. We're going to go with Duke, even though they had a disappointing ACC tournament, losing to Notre Dame. Duke, way too much for these play-in game winners. The second game in Charlotte, you have the number 8 seed San Diego State against the number 9 seed St. John's. Listen, St. John's just suspended their big man for 2 weeks. That's not a good sign. I mean, San Diego State should beat them up on the backboards. San Diego State has trouble scoring, but they play great defense. I don't like St. John's without their big man, so I'm going to go with San Diego State here to advance. Second group of games in Portland, you have the 5-12 matchup, Utah against Stephen F. Austin. I do like Stephen F. Austin. It's another 5-12 matchup, but I don't have the guts to pick them. I like what I see from Utah this year. They haven't played as well at the end of the year, but I don't have the guts to pick Stephen A. Austin here. I know a lot of other people did. It's a 5-12 matchup. I can see people doing it. I'm going to say Utah squeaks through here. And the other game in Portland, the 4-13 matchup, you have Georgetown against Eastern Washington. I got to go with Georgetown here. I think they're too strong for Eastern Washington, so Georgetown advances. Down to the bottom half of the South bracket, these couple of games are in Louisville. You have the number 6 seed SMU against the number 11 seed UCLA Bruins. SMU, of course, won the American title. Great job by them. They beat Connecticut on their home floor, knocked Connecticut out of the dance. How about Larry Brown as a coach? SMU, are you kidding me? I mean, they never won in college basketball. Now they're winning tournaments. They're a 6 seed. Great job by them. UCLA, a very big surprise. They even made the tournament. I did not see this coming. I did not think they were a tournament team. I think SMU is better than UCLA. I think UCLA got a gift just being here. I think SMU beats them. Second game in Louisville, number 3 seed Iowa State, who won the Big 12 tournament with a comeback against Kansas, against the number 14 seed UAB Blazers. I like Iowa State. I picked them as a surprise last year. They did very well. I'm going to pick them to do some things this year. I like Iowa State to roll over UAB. Then the bottom half of the South bracket from Seattle. These couple of games are in Seattle. 7-10 matchup, Iowa against Davidson. I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to pick Davidson. I don't love the Big Ten. I don't love this Iowa team. They did a nice job getting into the tournament. They're not all that great. I was checking out the point spread of this game. Iowa's only a 2.5-point favorite, so I'm going to pick Davidson to win here in an upset. I think it'll be a close game. And then the bottom half of that, you have the 2-15 matchup, Gonzaga against North Dakota State. You got to go with Gonzaga here. We'll see if they can finally get to a Final Four. They did play better in their conference tournament. They didn't play all that well at the end of the regular season, bounced back in their conference tournament, so I like Gonzaga to advance there. All right, so that is the first round. Let's get back up to the second round in the Midwest, where you will have Kentucky against Purdue from Louisville. I mean, come on. Kentucky's not going to lose in Louisville with all their fans to Purdue. Kentucky advances, no problem there. Then you have in Columbus, Buffalo against Maryland. This is where Buffalo's ride comes to an end. Maryland too strong for them. Maryland too solid of a season. They're not going to lose this early in the tournament. Maryland advances. Bottom half of the Midwest bracket from Pittsburgh, you have Texas against Notre Dame. I was very impressed with Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. Texas is so flaky. I mean, I picked them in the first round. I can't pick them to go too far, so I'm going to pick Notre Dame with their great passing, great shooting to knock off Texas. Then at the bottom there from Omaha, you are going to have a must-watch game. And most people won't think this is a must-watch game. It is. Kansas against Wichita State from Omaha. Are you kidding me? Both fan bases will be well represented. And remember, Wichita State has been dying to play Kansas, and Kansas won't put them on the schedule. So this is going to be a very heated contest. It's not a vintage Kansas team. I think last year's Wichita State team was better. Wichita State, with last year's team, I think beats this year's Kansas team. I could see Wichita State winning, but I'm going to say Kansas a little too strong. Barely ekes it out in a tremendous environment. That is a must-watch game. I am really looking forward to that game. That should be tremendous, tremendous stuff. I am really excited about that game. I think that is going to be one of the better games of the early rounds. I'll take Kansas to squeak through. All right, let's go to the second round down in the West. From Omaha, you'll have Wisconsin and Oklahoma State. You got to go with Wisconsin here. Too strong, too well coached. Oklahoma State is okay, but they can't beat a team like Wisconsin. I'll take Wisconsin to advance there. Then the game in Jacksonville, you will have Arkansas and North Carolina. Arkansas is going to try and go up and down the floor, and you don't want to do that against North Carolina. That's playing into North Carolina's hands. North Carolina is better than Arkansas. They will beat Arkansas. Bottom half of the West bracket from Jacksonville, Xavier against Baylor. I think Baylor is a very good team. I don't think this is a great Xavier team, so I will take Baylor to advance there. And then from Portland, you have Ohio State and Arizona. Listen, Arizona is going to roll in this game. They're going to have all their fans there in Portland. Arizona will cruise. Arizona advances. All right, the second round in the East from Pittsburgh, you will have Villanova against NC State. Villanova is just too consistent, and NC State is too inconsistent. I will take Villanova there to get the job done. Then the game from Seattle in that half of the bracket, you have Northern Iowa against Louisville. I know a lot of people don't love Louisville, but I have so much respect for Rick Pitino, and they do play really good defense, and I'm still not sold on Northern Iowa. Now, everyone I know has picked Northern Iowa in this game. I'm going to take Louisville. I have respect for Pitino. They play good defense. Do I think Louisville's a great team? No. I think they can beat this Northern Iowa team, so I'm going to take Louisville to beat Northern Iowa, but I could not argue with you if you like Northern Iowa. All right, down to the bottom half of the Eastern bracket from Columbus, you're going to have Providence against Oklahoma. Providence is a decent team. Oklahoma is better. Oklahoma advances there. And then from Charlotte, another must-watch game. These two had a classic last year. Michigan State and Virginia in the second round from Charlotte. Are you kidding me? This is a tremendous game. I mean, a tremendous game. I am on the fence with this game. I could see this game going either way. I'm going to take Virginia because I'm going to go with ACC over Big Ten, and I'm going to say Anderson finds his game. And Michigan State has a habit of letting games slip away this year, including the Big Ten title. Now, it wouldn't shock me at all if Michigan State won this game, but I'm going to take Virginia. They should have most of the house in Charlotte, should have most of their fans. I'm going to say Anderson plays well. Michigan State, tendency to blow some leads. I love that Virginia defense, but this is going to be a knock 'em, drag 'em out, just brawl. This is going to be tough, physical, hard-nosed basketball. Another must-watch game. Could see the game going either way. Must-watch TV. I'll take Virginia reluctantly. That's the second round in the East. Let's go down to the South. From Charlotte, you'll have Duke against San Diego State. San Diego State has too much trouble scoring. They just cannot put the ball in the basket. That's a bad recipe when you're playing Duke and Charlotte. I will take Duke to advance. Then from Portland, we will have Utah against Georgetown. Very, very interesting game. Being the game is in Portland, long trip for Georgetown. I think Utah's going to have most of the house. I've seen a lot of these teams from the East go west and struggle. So I'm going to take Utah. I think they're going to have a home court advantage there. I think all their fans are going to go out there. There's going to be no Georgetown fans there. I've seen a lot of teams from the East struggle when they go out west and play a team from the West. I'm going to take Utah to advance there. Bottom half of the South bracket, you will have the games from Louisville. It'll be SMU and Iowa State, an absolutely tremendous game. I'm big on Iowa State. I picked them last year to do things. They had a nice run. They just won the Big 12 tournament. I think they're going to have a nice run this year. As much as I love Larry Brown and SMU, Iowa State is battle-tested in the Big 12. SMU comes from the American Conference, not as great. I think the battle-tested Cyclones beat the Mustangs in another tremendous game. And then, of course, from Seattle, you will have Davidson against Gonzaga. The Davidson run ends right here. Gonzaga, too much for them. Even if Iowa beats Davidson, and say it's Gonzaga and Iowa, Gonzaga's getting through either way in this game. So I like Gonzaga to advance. So there you have it. So we are into our Sweet 16 now. Now we change sites. We will be going to Cleveland here in the Midwest, where you will have Kentucky against Maryland. Maryland's had a great year. They're a surprise to me. I never thought they'd be this good. They are now out of their depth. They're playing Kentucky. They cannot handle this Kentucky team. Kentucky advances. They get through. They get to the Elite Eight. Then you will have Notre Dame and Kansas in another tremendous game. Wow, this is going to be an awesome game. You know what? I don't love this Kansas team. I don't think it's a vintage Kansas team. We'll see if they get their big man back. I don't know if they're going to get him back for the tournament. I think Kansas is ripe to be picked, and I loved what I saw from Notre Dame in that ACC tournament. The way they passed the ball, slinging it around, the three-point shot. I think Notre Dame is going to upset Kansas. Notre Dame advances. They beat the Jayhawks, not the Jayhawks out. Notre Dame to the Elite Eight. Let's go down to the West. These games are in Los Angeles from the Staples Center, where you have a tremendous game, if we get it, Wisconsin and North Carolina. Wow, what a great game this is. Contrast the styles. I got to go with Wisconsin. They're very consistent. You know what you're getting from Wisconsin. They're a meat and potatoes type team. North Carolina, too up and down for me. They can play with anyone. I know they could possibly win this game, but I got to go with the more consistent Wisconsin Badgers. They get through to the Elite Eight. Then down to the bottom here, we have Baylor against Arizona. Listen, Baylor's a solid team. They're a good team. They're battle-tested. They're in the Big 12. Arizona's just way too good. They will not be beat here. Arizona is going to have a major home crowd advantage playing in Los Angeles in the Staples Center. It's going to be all Arizona fans. Did you see in the Pac-12 tournament out in Vegas? It was all Arizona fans. It'll be the same thing here in LA. Arizona beats a tough Baylor team. Arizona gets to the Elite Eight. Up to the East we go. These games are in the Carrier Dome up in Syracuse. You'll have Villanova against Louisville. Louisville, like I said, has trouble scoring. A lot of people don't even have them going this far. I do, just out of respect for Pitino and the way they play defense. Villanova, too strong for them here. I like Villanova with their balanced scoring. I like Villanova to take care of Louisville up in the Dome. And the other game in the Dome, you will have Oklahoma against Virginia. I think Virginia's defense shuts down Oklahoma. I am so impressed with what Virginia's done, what Bennett's done as coach. I mean, the way they play defense, the way they rebound, they are tenacious. They are so well coached. They don't make mistakes. They don't foul you. I think that'll be the difference in this game. Virginia advances to the Elite Eight. Down to the South we go. These games will be in Houston, where the Houston Texans play, so expect a big crowd down there. You will have Duke against Utah. I think Duke is too strong here. I really do. I think Duke is too strong. Utah's had a very nice season. They're building that program really, really well. But Duke is too strong here. No team in America has had more quality wins than Duke this year. Duke finds a way to get through. They beat Utah. And down at the bottom, you have Iowa State and Gonzaga. I am going to pick the upset here. As much as I'd love to see Gonzaga finally get to a Final Four, and they've been knocking on the door for a while. Remember that year, Adam Morrison, they were on their way to the Final Four, had UCLA beat and blew the game. They've been knocking on the door. I'd love to see Gonzaga get there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Iowa State is a really good team. I think this is a bad draw for Gonzaga. I think Iowa State advances and gets to the Elite Eight. All right, so we are in the Elite Eight now. We go back up to the Midwest bracket in Cleveland. We'll have Kentucky against Notre Dame. Listen, this could be a game where Kentucky, feels a little pressure. Notre Dame shoots the three well, passes the ball well. This could be a game that poses a problem for Kentucky. Maybe you have a possible upset chance here, but I'm not picking it. I'm going with Kentucky. I mean, as much as I like Notre Dame, and I do give them a puncher's chance in this game, I cannot go against Kentucky. They're too deep, too talented. They play unbelievable defense. They block shots. They rebound. I mean, Notre Dame is going to have to shoot lights out. It's possible. Kentucky's going to have a terrible shooting game. That's possible. Remember a few years ago when Kentucky lost to West Virginia? They couldn't shoot the ball at all. It's going to have to be one of those games, but I don't see it happening. I think Kentucky finds a way to get through and beats a very gritty, tough-minded Notre Dame team, Kentucky, to the Final Four. Down to the West we go, back to the Staples Center. We have a tremendous matchup, Wisconsin against Arizona. Just a great matchup, the 1 versus the 2. I know a lot of people are picking Wisconsin here. I'm going with Arizona here. I think, like I said before, this is going to be an Arizona house. Now, Wisconsin fans travel well, but Arizona has such a short distance to go to the Staples Center. They're going to have all their fans there. This is going to be an Arizona home game, and I think that will be the difference in the game. The extra crowd, in Arizona's favor will push them over. I think it's a white knuckler, a couple points either way. I think Arizona squeaks through with their home crowd in the Staples Center. Arizona beats Wisconsin and gets to the Final Four. Up to the East we go. Back to Syracuse, as we have Villanova against Virginia in the Elite Eight. I mean, this is another 1 versus 2 matchup. Now, I have a lot of friends that are Villanova fans. So they're probably going to get upset with me here. So Ed and Paul down in North Carolina, don't get upset with me, but I'm going with Virginia here. Now, I went back and forth on this game for like an hour last night. I can go either way. I could definitely see Villanova winning, so don't get on my case, but this is a tough game either way. The reason I'm going to pick Virginia is because I am going with ACC over Big East. The Big East is a nice conference, but it's not the conference it used to be with all the defections, and they've done a nice job rebuilding the Big East. A lot of teams left, but it's not the Big East of yesteryear. The ACC is absolutely loaded, so Virginia is battle-tested. Villanova, they've only lost 2 games, but how good is the Big East? I don't know. It's still suspect. That's why I'm going to take Virginia to win here. Listen, I know Villanova can win this game. It's a flip-of-the-coin type game, but I am going to take ACC over Big East. So now I've just infuriated all my Villanova friends, my friend Ed, my friend Paul / 4th cousin down in North Carolina. He's going to be upset with me because I'm picking against Villanova. They both went to Villanova. I like Villanova. I've talked Villanova up the whole year. I've said nothing but positive things about Villanova the whole year. I love the team, balanced scoring, Jay Wright. They could definitely win this game. But I am taking Virginia, ACC over Big East. I hope my Villanova friends don't get too upset with me. Virginia gets to the Final Four. Keep an eye on Anderson, though. He has to play well. Down to the south in Houston, we have Duke against Iowa State in an absolutely tremendous matchup. I mean, this is another game I went back and forth on. I'm going to go with Duke here. I mean, I could definitely see Iowa State winning this game. Duke is more balanced this year. They have the big man in the middle. They got some guys that could do things on the perimeter. So I like Duke's balance. I like that Duke has so many quality wins this year. They played so many big teams, had so many quality road wins. They won at Wisconsin. They won at North Carolina. They've done a really good job against big teams this year. Iowa State had so many comebacks in that Big 12 tournament against Kansas. I mean, every game they were down and they came flying back. I think this is where Iowa State's luck runs out. I love Iowa State. I picked them to go far last year. They came through for me. I'm picking them to go far this year. I think they're a solid team. I just think with Duke, with their balance coming out of that ACC, had a lot of quality wins. I'm going to take Duke to advance and get to the Final Four. So your Final Four from Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, that's where the Colts play. You will have the Kentucky Wildcats against the Arizona Wildcats and the Virginia Cavaliers against the Duke Blue Devils. Two tremendous matchups. Let's start with Kentucky and Arizona. If there's a team that can beat Kentucky, it might be Arizona. Now, a lot of people think it could be Wisconsin, but I'm picking Arizona over Wisconsin. So, I mean, let's keep that in mind. But Wisconsin is another team that if they beat Arizona, they'd be a danger to Kentucky. Arizona is one of those teams that can match up with Kentucky somewhat. Now, make no mistake about it. Kentucky's going to be the favorite. They're going to be the favorite against anyone they play. They're going to be the favorite here against Arizona. But Arizona is a very solid team, a dangerous team. They're hot. They look really good. They could be a threat to Kentucky. I think this is a tremendous game. I think this game could be better than the national championship game. I think the winner of this game will win the national championship. You know, not to give anything away right now, but you see where I'm going. I think Kentucky pulls it out against Arizona. I think this game will be closer than people think. I think Arizona has a shot, but I just cannot go against Kentucky. And like I said, we got to keep an eye on Kentucky with how they deal with this pressure of being undefeated. They haven't lost a game. How is Kentucky going to react, say that when they're down 6 with 10 minutes to go, if they're down 10 early, if they're down a point with 5 minutes to go, when they get squeezed, how are they going to react? I think Kentucky gets through it. I think it's a tough game. I think it's just a tremendous basketball game. Kentucky beats Arizona, gets to the final. And on the other side, you have Virginia against Duke. Now listen, Duke already beat Virginia this year at Virginia, so I'm going to pick Duke here on a neutral floor. Just because Duke's already gone into Virginia and beat them, I think Duke wins here. Like I said, Duke has had so many quality wins on the road. I think Duke too much for Virginia, too much balance. They got the big man in the middle. I think Duke beats Virginia, gets to the title game. So in Houston, you will have Kentucky in Indianapolis, you will have Kentucky against Duke. So that is your final game. Now listen, first of all, both fan bases will be well represented here. Duke, you'll get your Duke fans in there. A lot of people love Duke that didn't even go to Duke. You know, Duke has fans all over the place. You should see how many Duke fans there are here in New York. Duke has fans all over the place. But make no mistake about it. In Indianapolis, it'll be a Kentucky house. Kentucky fans travel everywhere. I mean, they travel absolutely everywhere. They will fill up this building. It's not a far trip, Kentucky to Indiana. It will be a Kentucky home game, and that will make all the difference in the world. I know Duke has had many great wins this year, especially on the road. This is asking too much, even out of Duke. I think Duke will be competitive for a half. Kentucky pulls away in the second half, and Kentucky wins the national championship, and they become the second team to go undefeated. The last time it was done was Indiana's Bob 19 in 1975. I think Kentucky is going to go undefeated. They're going to win the national championship, and they will beat Duke in Indianapolis to do it. Like I said, it should be a big house for Kentucky. They will bring all their fans there. As a matter of fact, everywhere Kentucky plays in this tournament, they will have the home crowd in a big, big way, and that makes a big difference. It's almost like playing a road game. I mean, if you're Arizona or if you're a Duke, you're going to feel like you're playing in Lexington, Kentucky. Plus, you have to deal with the team. Kentucky's got, they go 10 deep, all that size. I mean, they play great defense. I mean, so too many things going against teams that are trying to upset Kentucky. Now, like I said, got to see if Kentucky can handle the pressure, how they deal with it, how they deal with getting squeezed. I think they handle it well. I think they come out on top. And Kentucky wins the national championship in Indianapolis, and they beat the Duke Blue Devils to do it. That's how I see the tournament. If you're looking for some surprise teams in each side of the bracket, like I said, Iowa State in the South would be my surprise team there. In the East, I guess if you had to pick a surprise team, I would go with Michigan State maybe over there. As far as the West, maybe look at North Carolina. They can play with everyone. And as far as the Midwest, I mean, maybe a Notre Dame. Maybe a Notre Dame could be the surprise out of that bracket. But I like the Final Four to be Kentucky, Arizona, Virginia, and Duke. I like a Kentucky-Duke final game and Kentucky to cut down the nets in Indianapolis and go undefeated. That's how I see the NCAA tournament. You guys are all set. You guys are all caught up. I will be back with you guys next Monday as we'll get into our Sweet 16. We'll see how many of these games I got wrong. See how everything turned out with the brackets. There's upsets all over the place. You guys are all caught up. You guys are all set. You guys, thanks for the support as always. You guys stay safe, enjoy the games. Remember, you got your playing games tomorrow and Wednesday before, to me, the tournament starts on Thursday. You got your NIT, you got NBA, you got NHL, you got a lot of stuff to watch. Tournament, to me, starts Thursday. You get into the playing games. Those are Tuesday and Wednesday. A lot to watch this week. A lot of games to go through. I will be back with you Monday. We'll recap it all, and we'll get into the Sweet 16. You guys, thanks as always for the support. And I will talk to you guys Monday. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Good luck with your brackets. Talk to you Monday. Take care.